Welcome back to Restaurant Revolution. Last time, I spoke with Patrick Hingst, owner and founder of Woodchips BBQ, about the threats he received from local and state authorities for staying open during Michigan's second lockdown. In the last episode, he mentioned the need for legal counsel. In this episode, we meet Erik Reinhart, a semi-retired attorney who used to hold the title of Lapeer County Prosecutor. Erik offered to represent Woodchips pro bono, aka for free. Let's find out why.
I'm Erik Reinhart. I'm an attorney. I'm here representing Woodchips and happy to discuss it with you.
Perfect. Hi, Erik. So what drew you to Woodchips BBQ and what led you to the decision to work for them pro bono?
Well, I was aware of a few of the things that Patrick was doing. I've been avoiding the media, so I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to what was going on. My wife actually approached me, and it was a Sunday, and she said, wow, I'm really impressed with this young man and what he's doing with the restaurant in Lapeer. He's doing a lot to help the community. And so she showed me some of the, articles and some of the videos that Patrick had put out. And I was moved. I was impressed. I liked what he was doing. He's done a lot for the community, and I just felt inspired to reach out because I knew that he was going to need legal assistance. So I cold called the restaurant and left my name, and he called me back, and I said, hey, do you have an attorney? I think you're going to need one, and if you need one, I want to be that guy.
Very considerate. So what is your background in law?
Well, I've been an attorney for over 25 years, practicing mainly in the Lapeer area. I was an assistant prosecutor. I was with a law firm. I've been in my own private practice for the last many years.
And so you felt compelled to help Patrick because you resonate with his message and what you believe in the American process. Tell us a little bit about how this case really resonates with your cause and your purpose.
Like a lot of people, I was concerned about what I was seeing going on. I understand the concerns with this virus. On the other hand, the heavy-handed approach that was being used, and one of the things that, in fact, I stated in our liquor control hearing was trying to reach herd immunity. I think what's being actually achieved is herd insolvency. I mean, people's lives are being destroyed. It just seemed very onerous and heavy-handed, not well thought out, and no real plan. But yet, people's livelihoods, their businesses, their life savings were all at stake, and people were forced to tap dance through an ever-changing minefield, trying to figure out these rules, and it was very frustrating. And so when I saw an opportunity in my community to help, I definitely wanted to take that opportunity. I felt very good about doing it pro bono.
So can you tell us about some of the specific legal areas that you believe are being violated by these orders?
Well, there are certainly, many constitutional concerns. And under the federal and the Michigan state constitutions are very similar. The First Amendment is beyond more than just freedom of religion and free speech, but it also includes freedom to peacefully assemble. And, that directly being affected by the lockdown rules that we're under. We've got due process concerns, equal protection. We have different businesses, different industries being treated differently. The idea behind the law is that everyone should have an opportunity to be heard, and everyone should be treated the same and treated fairly. And it just seems certain industries have been singled out, other ones have been allowed. Small businesses are being affected, large businesses are being able to continue. It just seems very arbitrary and capricious.
And we keep hearing over and over that these are unprecedented times. But you've been in law for many years, so can I ask you, Are you surprised by anything that's going on? Is this a shock to you, or did you sort of see any of this coming?
I would say I'm more disappointed. Nothing really shocks me that much these days, but I'm definitely concerned as to the future. Where is this going? And I've never read anything in the Constitution or any of the constitutional law that I've reviewed that says your constitutional rights are subject to revocation through some type of public emergency. I mean, that just, a health emergency just, I don't see how that abrogates our constitutional rights. And I don't think it should, and I will fight as long as I can to make sure that doesn't happen.
So what you're saying is that, nowhere in our Constitution is there a clause saying that these inalienable rights can be taken away from us just based on an emergency. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the definition of inalienable. It's it's right on the face of the document. So. That concerns me. The rights we don't exercise will be taken away from us.
Let's talk a little bit about the work that you're doing for Woodchips. I know that you presented Patrick at the Liquor Control Commission hearing in December.
Hi everybody, Patrick Hingst here, founder and owner of Woodchips BBQ, broadcasting, recording our administrative law judge hearing before the Michigan Liquor Control Commission's emergency suspension order to remove our liquor license. So behind me is our lead attorney, Erik Reinhart. We also have at a different location, Kelly Allen supporting us, a liquor license specialist. We were fourth on the docket today. The third one has been bumped till tomorrow. We've been watching the previous one play out for the last 3 hours. We're getting ready to get started here, and we just want to, be as transparent as we can with everything so you guys can see what's going on. So we're waiting for this brief recess to end. You'll see the main thing displayed on the screen. It's a Zoom conference call. This is also being broadcast live on YouTube, but it's our understanding after it's broadcast, nothing is saved. So we want to document this, make sure that we have it for the record, and so that you guys
all
can
set,
check it out.
Ms. Gibson?
Time to party.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that was like, and did the case run smoothly? Give us a rundown about that day in court.
Of course, the violation notice came on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So that, not necessarily a surprise, but certainly didn't make things easier. And then they set up an immediate emergency hearing. Very little time for discovery, so it was pretty fast and furious. Cards were definitely stacked against us. I think the hearing itself went as well as can be expected. The administrative law judge, was pleasant and gave us adequate time to present our position.
We are now on the record calling case CV-508786, which is entitled Liquor Control Commission versus Woodchips LLC, doing business as Woodchips. Today is Friday, December 11, 2020. The time is now 3:54 p.m. Unfortunately, for a 1 p.m. scheduled hearing. So thank you, everyone, for your patience and understanding with that. We'll put appearance on the record. I'll start with mine. I'm Administrative Law Judge Mike St. John, duly authorized agent designated by the chairperson pursuant to Section 903 of the Act to hear liquor control cases, both subject to suspension and citations.
It wasn't the easiest circumstance. Hopefully we'll have a little, we have a little more time to prepare for the continuing violations that we've been served with.
Can you tell me a little bit about the cards being stacked against Woodchips? What does that mean?
I believe the state was hoping that people would be intimidated enough that they would not try to challenge these orders.
Mark G. Sands, Your Honor, Assistant Attorney General for the Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
And in fact, very few did. And that was one of the things that drew me to what Patrick was doing, that he had the courage to stand up and say, I have people that I need to take care of. and I can't allow this to happen. And that message really resonated with me, and I wanted to help him with that. And that's, so in many ways I do feel that perhaps the state has tried to make an example of him, and that, they want, create a chilling effect on other businesses that may want to push the envelope, push these orders. It's the tradition of civil disobedience is something that is very important to America. I mean, America was founded on civil disobedience and people peacefully not obeying laws that are unfair and or oppressive. And I think that's the real concern I see here.
Now let me ask you this. Staying open, would you say that that's an act of protest?
In these times, strangely enough, it actually has become that. It seems odd that would even be an issue. But I think it is. I think it is a form of free speech and exercising constitutional rights.
Was it a surprise to be dealing with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, but yet Woodchips was not in any violation of a liquor or alcohol violation? Was that strange to you to be dealing with them even though that jurisdiction was not violated?
Well, again, I wouldn't say it was strange. It was more so disappointing. I think my view would be that they were bringing the largest hammer to bear upon him.
I would just raise the issue, preserve the issue on the record, for the fact that this would be a health code violation, and I would challenge whether or not this is the proper jurisdiction. We have been served, my client has been served with a prior health code violation, which we are in the process of asking for a hearing on. So I consider this sort of the civil functional equivalent of maybe a double jeopardy situation.
There were no liquor control violations whatsoever, nor have there ever been for that business. Losing your liquor license is very expensive and very intimidating for any business, any restaurant, bar. And so I think it doesn't surprise me that they did it, but it did seem very heavy-handed.
This isn't about a violation of the public health code. It's about a violation of the liquor control code, Rule 4361011, that prohibits a clerk, servant, agent, or employee of a licensee from engaging in illegal conduct, an illegal act on the licensed premises. So that's what occurred. It's no different in form than if the licensee had punched the investigator in the nose and committed a misdemeanor, or sold bootleg CDs and committed a misdemeanor. In this case, he committed a misdemeanor offense of violating the public health code. And that has implications for his liquor license. So this is definitely the right jurisdiction, and there's no double jeopardy problem because he's subject to sanction for his liquor license, and he's also subject to sanction under a different standard for the violation of the public health code.
So that's the hammer that you're referring to, the expense and, the trials and tribulations to go through to get it back.
Yeah.
So that is the biggest hammer that you would say a restaurant could probably face in terms of legality?
Yeah, absolutely. And the lost income, for most restaurants, that's a big part of your income. I'm disappointed but not surprised. I used to be a prosecutor. I used to be in law enforcement. I know how things operate, and when you want to make an impression, you make an impression.
And you've mentioned bullying, and that's something you're against, and that's why you got into law, to protect the little guy. So
Right.
You see this as a form of bullying, small business restaurants with their liquor license?
I certainly do. Yeah, I think that, obviously the other side, they're going to say that they're protecting lives, they're protecting health. People have to eat. People have to pay their bills. People have to, pay for the heat in their home. Is the idea to keep people locked down so that they can stay COVID-free as they lose their job, as they lose their home, as they're unable to feed their children? I mean, really, is that really the result we want here? And those effects will go on. Those effects, the long-term economic effects of this shutdown will go on for years.
And those are very fair concerns. But let's talk about the actual hearing with the control. So how did that go? And tell us a little bit about that. Did you think it was fair? Were we heard?
We were able to get our message out.
I mean, again, that's part of the tragedy here. I mean, we've got a good operator. We've got somebody who's, committed. They're educated. He's doing the right things. He wants to do the right things. This is not the kind of business we want to put out of business. And that's what's so frustrating and tragic for me, that we're even here.
And I think the administrative law judge heard our message, although, his hands were tied to some extent, really. We're looking at more than a 100-year-old law, which was enacted as a result of the 1918 Spanish flu. But it was the time constraints. We didn't have much time to prepare, and there was a lot at stake. We did better in the hearing than I anticipated we would, quite frankly. We weren't penalized as harshly as we could have been. I think in large measure because of the outstanding work Patrick has done.
Why don't we talk a little bit about how the case was presented? We certainly had seen other restaurants in their hearings. They took more of a constitutional route. Looking at the Woodchips hearing, you guys took sort of a different tone and route. Can you tell us a little bit about Patrick's stance and what makes his cause a little bit different than, let's say, some of the other restaurants that stayed open?
Well, I think there's an old legal maxim, and they say when the facts favor you, you pound the facts. When the law favors you, you pound the law. When neither favors you, you pound the table. And the facts are always, in my opinion, the preeminent issue you want to present to the trier of fact. And Patrick and Woodchips really, he's done so much for the community. He's provided a lot of, food for the homeless.
We announced that we would be operating as a nonprofit. So during that period, not only has all my pay been donated back to make sure that the team is taken care of, but any profits that have been earned are put into a pool that is either bonused out to my team to make sure they are taken care of during the holidays as best we can, as well as leading into our community involvement, which I think the chief alluded to, but we've had several initiatives launched where we've been able to donate almost $10,000 back just since the beginning of the pause, with a focus on laid off restaurant workers and others who have been negatively economically impacted by the rulings that have been handed down. In fact, even we just announced another partnership yesterday with a food bank where we're assisting in passing out over 100 gourmet Christmas hams and entire meals to, again, out-of-work restaurant workers.
He takes the business seriously. He's well qualified. He's well trained.
Where I got my degree in hospitality business, which included backgrounds in food safety, as well as foodborne illnesses and communicable diseases, as well as business operations.
And when did you graduate from Michigan State?
That was 2005.
Okay. And do you have any continuing education in food services and safety precautions?
Yes, I've been in the food industry since I was 16. I started at McDonald's. I'll be 39 next month. I became a certified TIPS safe alcohol trainer in 2009. I've maintained that and have successfully trained well over 100 individuals so that they can be the person on record for licensed premises through the MLCC. 2.5 years ago, I received my certification as a food safety expert and a ServSafe safety manager trainer, as well as test proctor.
The facts here were very, very favorable to our situation, so I really wanted to rely on that. The constitutional issues, those will have to work their way up the appellate ladder, and who knows how those will turn out. We have a different different Supreme Court makeup than we had with the executive orders. The executive orders were based on different laws, and we had a conservative Republican, more conservative Republican Supreme Court at that time. Now, with the most recent election, we have a Democrat-controlled Supreme Court.
Michigan Supreme Court has now flipped to a Democratic majority. Democratic incumbent Chief Justice Bridget McCormick is presumed to retain her seat, and Grand Rapids lawyer Elizabeth Welch is expected to win over her Republican nominees. All of this comes after Governor Gretchen Whitmer criticized the GOP majority bench for revoking her emergency powers.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure how viable those constitutional issues are going to be.
I heard you say before that you felt like you were heard, that you felt like it was fair. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the outcome that you started to mention?
Well, they were looking for a $300 fine and a 60-day suspension of his license. We were concerned at the beginning that they would be going for a full revocation, which would have been particularly onerous. So we were lucky, thankful that they did only ask for a 60-day suspension.
Commission would ask their license be suspended for 60 days from the date Your Honor issues its decisions, and we're seeking the maximum fine for each charge. And we'd ask that the suspension begin on the date you issue the order.
And ultimately, the administrative law judge ordered a 45-day suspension, which will be done January 29th.
Should there be any allowance for, he's done, understanding there's an ongoing, and again, without citing whether there's a violation, but if I find a violation, should there be any allowance for the many good things he's done right?
I understand the question, Your Honor, but I guess my problem is that he's continuing to violate the gathering and face mask order.
So, I felt that we did get a little bit of consideration.
So you experienced some leniency, and you feel like the judge heard the case. Now, would you say that it was an emotional plea, or why do you think Woodchips did get that leniency?
I think it was really a compelling case.
November 15th, now it's been extended, but what about the November 15, 2020 order? Didn't you understand? It was confusing to you, sir.
I didn't understand how I was supposed to stand by and allow my people's lives to be ruined. My employees are my family, and Sunday when she made the announcement, before it all happened, I had so many messages of my terrified single moms not knowing, this is right before the holidays, and it's not like everybody was in a great position. We're coming out of a summer where our capacity had been limited previously by another shutdown period, which we did adhere to because we did have at least extended unemployment benefits. My people were taken care of. But we're put in a position where, the people that, I don't want to get emotional, but the people that carried me through that, when my daycare was closed and I wasn't even able to go up to run my business to keep it from falling apart, and it almost collapsed. And then I'm asked to throw these people to the curb. It's all I wanted was a way to talk with anybody that could help me find solutions. Because saying too bad.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand. You understood the November 15th order, but you were concerned about how you were going to keep your employees employed if you ceased in-person dining. Is that fair?
Well, I understood elements of it, but in there I think it referenced the imminent danger, and they were forcing me to cause imminent danger to my employees' lives. We're supposed to be about taking care of people and keeping them safe, and what they were ordering me to do would have 100% not made them more safe. It would have put them and their families at risk. So, while I understood what the order was telling me to do, at the same time I couldn't understand the reasons, the rationale, how it was supposed to help keep people safe by taking lower middle class workers and forcing them into poverty level wages if they were able to successfully navigate the unemployment insurance, which is no guarantee.
Clearly the same motivating factors that wanted me to volunteer to help Patrick, I think the judge also felt some compassion, and it was he's done a lot for the community. It's been a good business, involved in the community. The chief of police, who testified against us, essentially ended up being probably our best witness on our behalf.
Last is Frisch, F-R-I-S-C-H.
And you're chief of police for what agency?
The city of Lapeer.
Have you ever had any complaints or legal violations or other things brought to your attention regarding Patrick Hingst or Woodchips previous to this incident?
Absolutely none.
Okay. How would you describe Mr. Hingst's demeanor and behavior in your interactions with him?
He's a very responsible business owner.
Okay. So with the exception of this new pause, this health department ruling, have you ever had a reason for concern about the way he is operating his business, activities going on there, violations, et cetera? Have you had any concerns about his business?
No concerns at all, sir.
Okay. So really, would you characterize him as an asset, a good business operator within the city of Lapeer?
Absolutely, I would.
Okay.
He explained, that this was a good business. He never had any problems with this business. That Patrick's an involved member of the community, an asset to the community. So, it's always nice when the opposing witnesses actually support your position. So that was a pleasant surprise. Chief Frisch was very honest, and I appreciated his integrity.
Would you say that Patrick is infecting the community with compassion and understanding in a way that maybe other leaders haven't yet or are aspiring to?
Well, I hope so. He certainly infected me, and that's why I'm here.
Let's continue on with the ruling. So it sounds like you got the leniency. Obviously we're happy. You guys must be happier with a 45-day suspension versus 60 days. Now that the liquor license has been suspended, what would you say is next for Patrick?
Well, unfortunately, he has been cited again this time under the health code. For essentially the exact same violations, the same time periods, the same activities. And so we received a single count notice of violation. We have had a pretrial on that. We are set for a formal hearing. That's going to be in February. And after we had asked for the hearing on that, then we received another violation notice. This was a 4-count violation notice, and which I'm asking each one of those counts to be heard separately. I don't want to see them lumped together.
So I just heard you say that you want to have 5 separate hearings. That's quite a lot of time for a pro bono attorney. Can you tell us a little bit more about that decision and why it's important to you to spend that much time in front of, the health department pleading your case?
Well, I think this case deserves the attention. I don't want them to just, steamroller us. I want to be able to address each violation each day. They're separate violations. If they're going to issue separate violations, then I feel that we have the right to address each one of those violations separately rather than allowing them the opportunity to roll them all into one. And we very well may present separate witnesses on each violation depending on the circumstances. So I've yet to hear. I've asked for. We had the first violation notice was a single count. The second was 4 counts. I have asked for 4 separate hearings. I haven't received any ruling or information on that yet, but that is certainly our goal.
Do you think that at each hearing they're going to bring up the same violations, or do you think that they're going to have other information or other evidence to hold against this restaurant? How do you see that going down, or is it all just the same violation, one day after the next?
I would be speculating to know exactly what they're going to present, but based upon their notice of violation, it really seems to be all about just simply allowing the indoor dining. That really seems to be the only thing that they can complain about, and not even the masks. There were no mask violations. There were no, with our liquor control hearing, there were no liquor control violations.
The current pause order, the Department of Public Health order, okay, assuming that order was not in place, did you see anything that would have been a violation of the liquor control law?
No, sir, did not.
Okay.
From what I have seen from the evidence that I've been privy to up to this point, it's simply that he allowed a very limited indoor dining, and that's really it. I mean, so compared to some of the other violations that I've been aware of and some of the other hearings I've observed, the behavior at Woodchips was pretty exemplary. Really, it's surprising. I think the only reason that they have focused on him is the fact that he has been probably the most vocal, which is, again, disappointing.
Well, Erik, thank you so much for answering our questions. It sounds like you have a lot of work ahead of you.
So, yeah, the story goes on. We definitely have much more work to do.
Woodchips BBQ received a 45-day suspension and $300 fine from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. Next week on Restaurant Revolution, we hear from Patrick about this decision and how it affected the restaurant. With threats still looming from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, where does the restaurant stand? Find out on the next Restaurant Revolution.